Hello and welcome to Nigeria Now, showing on your digital first Pan-African news network, TOS Television. And joining us in the studio this time to analyze stories is Adebayo Fajimi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
A couple of stories have made round just between yesterday and today. We'll just read them out to you in the following order. Let's begin from the Daily Times newspaper. The banner headline says, Anambra governorship poll, massive deployment of security not to intimidate citizens. And that's coming from the IGP. Two riders underneath that story. The first says, we've made watertight security arrangement. And then US threatens visa ban on electoral offenders. Just on top of the newspaper, we see FEC approves 47 billion naira contract for aviation, works ministries, customs. And that story can be found on page 2 of the Daily Times. Just underneath that banner headline there, you see JAM remits 3.51 billion naira as 2021 operating surplus. And then business, why Nigeria sells electricity to neighboring countries. That's coming from NBET. Northern elders decry worsening insecurity, call for third force. That can be found on page 4. But let's talk about the Anambra governorship poll. We're just 2 days to the governorship election. Because, of course, technically 2 days to prepare for the election. What do you feel about this?
Well, it's good, and it's what many people are looking forward to seeing. And just like what we have read, that the deployment of security personnel to ensure security of lives and property, to ensure that anarchy and all sort of killing do not occur during the election. So what IGP and all other security agencies, are doing is very right. At the same time, we must be very careful of what they do there, and especially their professional, their professionalism is very, very important, because if in an election the law stated, what kind of the kind of weapon security agencies are allowed to, and even if they are to monitor, if they are to be deployed, the law also stated the distance at which they need to stand in each polling unit. So, but because of the security situations, well, we just advise that the security agencies adhere strictly to what the law says, and ensure that they do not carry out their activities in such a way that voters will be intimidated. Because when voters sees AK-47, they see weapon, ordinarily many of them will be scared to go out to cast their ballot and exercise their franchise. So the security agencies should ensure that in whatever way, and it has been coming from different quarters that and that the government is trying to read, they are trying to do this, and everything possible to ensure that this process is hearted and is being done in a way that it's going to favor one party and to not favor the other party. But what we just need to tell them is to ensure that this is being done the way it should be done, so that the best, the interest of the electorate, of the voters, at the end of the day plays out, and whoever they voted for emerge as the next governor of Anambra State.
All right. We see just a story under that newspaper right there. Northern elders decry worsening insecurity, call for third force. I will just come back to this story shortly, but let's talk about the banner headline on the Nigerian News Direct. Rising insecurity, controversy trails 131 billion naira cut in 2022 military budget. 2 writers on in that story there. As Nigerian Army describes cut as unhealthy, begs Senate for reversal. And then expert says success can be maintained if leakages are blocked. So this is talking about insecurity. Just a day ago, or just yesterday, what the news was about, the attack on Abuja University, just right here in the Federal Capital Territory. People were talking about how safe we as Nigerians are if we can have such a magnitude of attack just in the Federal Capital Territory. Now we're seeing another story talking about insecurity, a controversy of a 131 billion naira cut from the 2022 military budget. How prepared do you think Nigeria is to really solve this issue of insecurity?
Honestly, we are not serious about tackling this menace called insecurity, because it's just it's quite pathetic I just read what the chief of army staff said, and it's so very very pathetic, because if these professionals put up a budget and say, okay, they propose a budget that this is what we think is going to help us to tackle this problem we are facing as a nation, and some certain people from another quarter say, okay, you will not be able to need, you will not need up to this amount, and they just cut it drastically. Do you understand? So it shows that we are not ready to fight insecurity, and even our Senator Ali Ndume, who is the chairman of that committee, also supported the military. So I think there is problem in this nation, and it is high time we rise to the responsibility and ensure that what we need to do is, because when they don't have enough weapon, they don't have enough equipment, to face these people, and the kind of weapon these bandits are carrying, they are sophisticated. So how do you go and tackle or face somebody who has a higher weapon than what you carry? Of course, you will be neutralized. So the government needs to support our security agencies with the needed support, with the requisites, in terms of money and all other things they need to do to ensure that this menace is drastically reduced.
Okay, still on the Nigerian News Direct newspaper, the first story right there says court reserves ruling on final forfeiture of $899,600 to January 31st, 2022. That can be found on page 21. And of course, CBN is saying e-Naira more reliable than cryptocurrency. Just grab this story right there on page 2 of the Nigerian News Direct. Abiodun releases 5 million Naira house scholarship for OAU Best Medical Graduate. That can be found on page 11. And just underneath that, we see Oshun 2022. NURTW, that's the Union of Road Transport Workers, endorses Oyetola for second term, lauds his performance in office. We can get all of that story on page 3. Anambra 2021, of course, Festus Okoye, the INEC commissioner, is saying, no going back. We have fully recovered from attacks, ready for elections. On page 21 there, we see Jubeb exam leakage. ICPC DSS arrest 48 lecturers, security officers of private universities. On page 3, EFCC witness debunks fraud claim in 544 million naira contract allegedly awarded to ex-SGF Babachir Lawa's company. On the Daily Trust newspaper, the banner headline there is talking about NNPC spending 864 billion naira on petrol subsidy in 8 months. Of course, the two rivals there says remit 496 billion naira, skips April, fix refineries to get it right. That's coming from experts. Of course, talking about the Ikoyi building collapse, death toll rises to 22. Just because of time and before we go, of course, I'll address Ikoyi building collapse. We've not heard your opinion on what you think about the whole thing, and the number of people that were involved in that collapse, and families, people have really been talking about how good our infrastructures are in Nigeria.
And that figure we have is still, because the
they are still gathering
is still
data.
Ongoing.
Yes,
it's
yes,
still ongoing. So
yes.
where considering the controversial statement we have heard from series of from different quarters, especially from the state government of from Lagos state government, it's quite so alarming, and it's so displeasing, because how can somebody just get somebody said the man got approval to 15 floors, and when the deputy governor was talking, he said the building, the man got approval to the 21st floor. So the question is, what now happened? So that means the quarters, or the people who are saddled with the responsibility to monitor things like this, because this is not the first time this is happening.
Yes, it has happened before.
Some years ago, you heard about what happened in that church, synagogue of all nations, the synagogue church of all nations. The same thing happened there. So I think government needs to take a very drastic steps to ensure that whoever is going to put up a kind of structure like that should get the normal approval, and it should be properly monitored, such that they don't use what is not meant for the structure that was approved. So because the life of people is very, very important. Those who have lost people now, so what amount of money can bring them back to life. So I think we need to come up higher and do, what is normal.
Okay. The banner headline on Blueprint says NEF to FG, declare bandits terrorists, tackle IPOB for hitch-free Anambra poll, and that can be found on page 6. You can grab all of the other stories that can be found on Blueprint, and of course all the other newspapers we've read out to you. Just grab yourself a copy or an e-copy and read about them. And don't forget, you can also stay updated on our website, www.stostvnetwork.com, to know what's happening in Nigeria and of course Africa. And do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube as well, and follow us across all our social media platforms that's displayed on your screen. Again, thank you for joining us on the Nigeria Now. I will see you tomorrow. I remain merciful. Ajinomo.